Hi everyone, it's Lynn from the Stitch TV show. Just wanted to do another episode of Shop My Stash. This time I want to talk about what is neutral. So we've talked about on the show that neutral, technically the definition is creams, whites, browns, blacks, those are neutral. And I argued with Pam in the show, if you've seen it, that I'm like, neutral's what I say neutral is. So this is my quilt where I kind of was a little bit rebellious from the most of the time what you see. When you look at double wedding ring quilts, which is a double wedding ring quilt, when you look at a double wedding ring quilt, most of the time the background is a cream or a white. Every once in a while, if you're in the Amish area, it's black. So you don't see a lot of double wedding ring quilts where they don't have a traditional neutral background, and that bugged me. So I decided, I wonder if I can get away with a different background for my double wedding ring quilt. And I love a good double wedding ring quilt. They are really hard to make, especially if you're piecing them. This is a cheater double wedding ring quilt. I use the Quilt Smart technique. It's all applique. It is not pieced as a traditional double wedding ring quilt is pieced. And if you pay close attention, most of the double wedding ring quilts have arcs, and this is straight piece. So I sewed it together in sets, and then put the Quilt Smart a fusible thing on it, and allowed me to turn it inside out and fuse it down and then applique it down. So it's a cheater. I always say it's for people who ask you for double wedding ring quilts for people you don't love as much, because if you have to cut out all these pieces, you got to love them a lot. I'm just saying. So anyway, what I wanted to do is I wanted to put my rings on something that wasn't necessarily traditional. So I chose red. And I wanted to call this quilt the Red Wedding, and Pam got onto me and said I couldn't call it that, but I tell everybody that I want to call it that. So, like, this is my Red Wedding quilt, but it's not. It's like, I think I named it the Red Hat Ring or something. I don't know. But it really was kind of inspired by the Game of Thrones. So, and if you know the Red Wedding in the Game of Thrones, spoiler alert, go watch it. I think it's season 3. Anyway, so the Red Wedding quilt, which is not Red Wedding, I thought I'd put red in my background. And so, you know, one of the most dynamic kind of color combinations is if you choose something that it's going to be, this is a quilt where, you know, it's kind of unexpected. So I found this border, right? And the border was something that had this deep red in it that I really liked. And I've got a nice cherry red here, which I think is great. And this border had that in it. And then the border had these blues and purples in it, which aren't necessarily my normal choices of colors. I kind of stay on the warm side of the color wheel, so I'm happy with the red. But the blues and purples tend to be on the cooler side of the color wheel, not necessarily my cup of tea. So I don't use them as much. But I went to my stash and I found a bunch of blues and purples and reds in it, and allowed myself, and you'll notice they were just honestly, I just grabbed them. So they're not matched exactly, like that blue is not matched exactly, and I just went with a bunch of different. The key with scrappy quilts is if you use enough of the variety of the same color, people are going to believe that you meant to do that. And so what I did is I used enough of a variety of purples and enough of a variety of blues that it looks like I meant to do that. And guess what? I did. So I don't have to worry about matchy-matchy. I don't have to worry about that this is the exact blue that's in the focus fabric, or this exact purple that's in the focus fabric. You know what? It's close enough. And how else I got away with that is I put this cute border, this internal border here that separates this from your eye so that you're not running into this blue is not right up against that, so it doesn't let you, notice right away that it doesn't match. So give yourself a separation of the colors, and then that allows you to get away with it, right? So I love a different background. I just think they make me really happy, and you're going to see other backgrounds that I've done and playing with them and just getting that unexpected look. Now you'll notice one of the fabrics that really draws your eye is that unexpected fabric that's got a lot of white in it, where there's no really other white in the quilt. But because that pop is there in several different places, that's what helps move. I just knocked something over. That's what helps move your eye around the quilt. And I'm always looking for something that will help move my eye around the quilt, because that gives me an interesting quilt. I want you to see a quilt from a good distance away, be attracted to it, and then keep walking up to it to look at more and more details. And then I'm going to hide more things in it as you get closer, right? So that it's got multiple layers of why I'm attracted to it. But I think this little blue, which is totally not necessarily a blue that you would expect, allows you to move your eye in different places around the quilt, and you just see them better. So totally believe like this blue has nothing to do with this. It's the wrong color, but because I put enough of it in there, you believe it belongs, and it just gives you more depth. So don't feel like you have to do matchy-matchy. I think Jenny Byers in one of her books talks about how if you have a focus fabric, she chooses colors that are shades darker and shades lighter in her blocks. And she is really dynamic quilts if you've seen some of Jenny Byers' stuff. So anyway, this is Red Hat Rings, official name. Secret name is the Red Wedding. But Pam said I can't have a double wedding ring quilt where, the wedding doesn't go well. But it was George R. R. Martin. None of the weddings go well in that show. So anyway, so there we are. Unexpected background, but I think it's more dynamic because it is unexpected. This would be a totally different quilt if it was on a cream or white. So the red really kind of gives it that placement that allows you to see it. And notice the red is contrasting to this and not, if this would have been this light purple in the background, that purple here, you wouldn't have had the dynamic of the rings. They wouldn't have had something to stand off of. So use a lot of really bright cherry red that actually gave me that dynamic. So anyway, all right. Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know if you have questions about color or how to shop your stash. And we will talk to you later on the stitch.